We have a topic called Coach Wellbeing, no longer a topic being neglected. And as a presenter, we have Frauke Kubischta. So Frauke, when you're ready, please start.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, so hello and good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Frauke Kubischta, and thank you that I can present here today. It's an honor to talk about my master thesis, actually. I wrote this coach development framework for the International Ice Hockey Federation. So the presentation that I'm now showing you is based quite strongly on this master thesis that I wrote in 2018. So no longer a topic to be neglected. Well-being, I think, is something that we hear basically on a daily basis in the news or in newspapers when we talk with people, especially during the current year. Well-being is certainly a topic that has been brought to attention to a lot of people, to everybody. Many people are struggling with their well-being right now, and so for me, that was already 2018 a really important topic, that it is included in a coach development framework. So basically in the education materials and in the program for coaches, that they learn about well-being, about their own personal well-being, and that they also get to know about strategies, how to improve their well-being. And it's not just the task of the coach, but it's the task of the organization who is employing the coach to also support the coaches that work for the organizations in their well-being. So this well-being it's not a new topic, and it has been researched and discussed, and investigation and surveys have been conducted for the past 20-30 years. And not just with coaches, but also with healthcare professionals such as nurses and doctors, or managers and other professionals concerning their well-being and health at work and in general. So I think maybe the latest well-being survey has been conducted 2019 here in Finland by the Finnish Coaches Association together with the Research Institute for Olympic Sports, KIHU. And one of the main outcomes of this survey was that quite a high percentage of coaches do not recover well after their working day. And it also shed light onto the fact that coaches have a lot more work to do or than previously agreed in their work contract, that the working hours per week are not limited to the 40 hours, but quite many coaches end up doing 60 hours per week, for example, which of course is impacting their well-being. And so it's really an important topic now to go deeper into, and to find out and to guide coaches, but also institutions and organizations who are taking care of this coach development and coach education, that what are means that we can improve the well-being of our coaches, but of course if we're going out of the coaching sector, also in other areas, that how can well-being be improved. And so for my master's thesis, for me, it was important that it's included, and that also the International Ice Hockey Federation shows that for them it's important that this is a topic that should be made known and supported, not throughout the world. So in order for coaches to be effective coaches and to do their job well, they need to be rested, and they need to feel good, and their well-being needs to be taken care of, so that they can really be there for the athletes that they are working with. So coaches are facing a few challenges, as I already pointed out, long working hours during the week, maybe not enough time that they're able to spend with their families, for example. they're not recovering well after a working day, and so the workload is too high. They have additional tasks that and duties that they're expected to do apart from the coaching tasks that they are doing. Their role description or their job position is maybe not defined properly. That is also giving an issue, and they have to travel a lot, which also challenges the well-being of coaches. We all know that traveling affects usually quite negatively on our own well-being. So we can call these challenges on the coach's well-being also stressors, and these stressors can be divided into three main stressors: so organizational, competitive, and personal stressors. And going into the organizational stressors, so these are for example, managerial conflicts, lack of financial assistance to the program that they are working in, additional teaching duties, especially if we're thinking about not coaches particularly here in Finland, but abroad. They sometimes work at colleges and universities, so they also have teaching duties on top of just giving the coaching the sport that it's theirs. There might be a role conflict that they're facing. They have excess work demands. There might be conflicts between staff members. Again, the traveling is one big part that they're faced with. Weekend games, again, maybe not so many free days during the week. There might be a lack of communication, and the expectations from the organization might be too heavy for them. So the competitive stressors that the coaches are facing might be due to selection issues and recruitment, the professionalism around their work. They might be unable to control the lives of the team staff, which might give an additional impact on the work that they're doing. Negative performance results by athletes might be a reason. Competition in general is always increasing challenges around the team and individual athletes. We have intrusion of media around the team or sport setting in general, and lack of athlete and team discipline might be a stressor, as well as the expectations from athletes, team, staff, parents, and the organization that the coach is working in. Then coaches are faced with personal stressors, maybe with irregular working hours. They might not have enough time for their family and friends. They might be facing financial issues. They might be worrying about what others are thinking about them. General overload of everything that is coming up to them, not enough time for the family, and they're unable to fulfill the expectations from their families and friends. So if a coach has this state of stress, it usually means that the stressors that the coach is facing are more than the coping strategies that the coach is able to apply in the situation. And then now we're coming into the symptoms of stress. Probably all of us have felt these kinds of symptoms already at one point in our life. We might be emotional fatigued, and we feel frustrated. We have short temper. We're tense. We show poor performance, and we have a constant feeling of being tired or an inability to focus. We might have headaches. Our communication abilities are diminished. We feel exhausted, empty. Most likely our sleep is negatively affected. We have problems falling asleep, and the quality of sleep is poor. We might be irritated or and are very low on energy levels. So that stress and feeling stress and stressors is just the first step basically on a path towards burnout. So if coaches or if people are have an inability to cope with the stresses that they are feeling, the situation might or will lead into a chronic stress situation. And if that becomes permanent, it will lead to emotional exhaustion and finally to burnout. And it has been also in the past in the news, unfortunately, that coaches have to quit their job, for example, because of burnout, and they're unable to execute their coaching position any longer. So, and this is due to psychological and or physical exhaustion. So symptoms of burnout are cynicism. It's a depersonalization. They're no longer interested in what's going on around them. They show loss of interest. Different types of depressions as symptoms are shown, and they have a sense of reduced accomplishment and loss of personal identity, and they feel increased anxiety around them. So they're usually, if a person is in a state of burnout, they're withdrawing from activities because of their physical and emotional exhaustion. They're no longer able to do the job and be there for other people. So in order for organizations and institutions and coaches themselves to be able to work with these stressors, it's important that everybody learns about coping strategies. And these coping strategies can be divided into 4 main categories. Those are personal, professional, balance, and communication strategies. So personal strategies are really around the including physical activity in the daily schedule, such as morning walks or stretching, maybe go for yoga, running, cycling. Time for reflection, to think about and reflect on own thoughts and emotions. Meditation would be one. Positive self-talk strategies, mindfulness. Then professional strategies would really be about learning better about problem solving and management skills, as well as conflict management, communication skills, and leadership. And then going into the balance strategies would really be to be better at prioritization and delegation of responsibilities. As the coach or head coach in an organization or a team, one does not need to do everything by themselves, but it's really important that one is able to delegate responsibilities to the coaching staff and say that, okay, I've given you this task, now it's out of my hands and I can concentrate on something else, to really find this balancing strategies. And then communications, that really goes into preparing already before the season starts on expectations of the coaching staff, athlete behavioral standards, athlete contacts, clear guidelines for team and athlete selection protocols, so that when one is actually in the situation, when the coach does not need to then come up with a strategy how to deal with the situation, but there is already a clear outline of, okay, if an athlete behaves like this, this is how I want to deal with the situation. So then that again leaves time for other things. So in order for coaches really to learn about these strategies, coping strategies to deal with the stresses that they're facing in their daily life, it's important that coach development programs really include these coping strategies through workshops and modules in the education of the coaches, so that they really learn about mindfulness and positive self-talk, how to establish a coach support network, for example, how to include physical activity in their daily lives, improve their organization skills for their working hours, and really learn how to take care of their own well-being and to maintain good energy levels through proper rest and recovery during the day, on weekends, and in their free time. And although I've been talking about coaches, of course, all these coping strategies apply to all of us in any profession where we start to feel very stressed out. We need to find strategies that we can deal better with the situation to minimize the stress that we are feeling and that is negatively impacting our health. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation on coach well-being. And here at the end are a few references, and you can take a quick picture of your screen if you're interested in maybe reading up on some of these references and scientific articles. I just collected a few interesting ones. Thank you again.
Thank you, Frauke. That was really, really interesting. And now it's time for questions. If we have some, maybe from audience, and if not, everyone in this session, you can just interrupt me and ask if you'd like. But
I could ask.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Frauke. Do you have information or research information, knowledge about the abilities of the coaches to cope on stress? Do they have stress by average better ways of coping, or is there something we could learn from professional sport coaches? Because from my perspective as a teacher, and also what managers talk in the media about their work, they are becoming more coaches nowadays. Teachers are becoming coaches and managers are becoming coaches. So is this something is waiting for all of us just behind the corner?
Yeah, but okay, coaching, I've been now really talking about sport coaches. So that's a little bit different than these life coaches, for example, that you're talking about, maybe referring to. But I think the coping strategies that I've listed here and the ideas and suggestions on how to be better able to cope with the stresses in one's life are the same coping strategies that can be applied to any profession, you know, to learn better management skills, to be better able to be on top of your daily rhythm better, to find 5 to 10 minutes during the day to really sit down, reflect on your thoughts and feelings, have some time on your own. I think one of the books that has a really good chapter is by Wade Gilbert. It's Coaching Better Every Season, and he has a whole chapter in his book concerning this coach well-being, and he calls it starting the day on offense. So he suggests, for example, that to get up earlier than the rest of the family, for example, and the rest of the team staff, and have half an hour for yourself where you go maybe for a run or a workout in the gym or just a walk with the dog. And you start thinking about what happens during the day, what happened the previous day, and how you want to approach the coming day, and where you find time for yourself before starting reading emails and taking phone calls and all of that. So there's various different strategies, and there's also a lot of different surveys out there that anyone can do to find out where their own stress level right now is, or even if each individual person is aware of these coping strategies, and then you can start learning them. And or mindfulness techniques, for example. Breathing techniques are also one of the big things, that before you answer to somebody, you take a few minutes and really concentrate and focus on your breathing, and you collect your thoughts before you maybe make a rash decision, for example. So, and then also this preparing in the off season, that's also one of his big tasks or ideas on coping strategies, that there's a lot of things that you can prepare before a situation happens, and then you already have a roadmap basically on how to deal with a certain situation without then losing time and thoughts and energy on how do I now take this situation, how do I deal with it.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
And to continue on those coping strategies, you mentioned balance, personal, professional communication. Which one do you think it needs more work, or which is the most problematic or hardest to handle?
I think those really depend on, for example, the position that the coach is in, what your work is, how well the communication works with the organization that you're working in. So which coping strategy or which area you need to focus on, I think is really, really individual on your current situation or the coach's current situation. That is it because the team has been challenging, so maybe then it really is on focusing coping strategies on more communication, for example, that you improve the situation with your team. Is it conflict between the organization and the coach? Then that needs to be focused on. And is it really about the coach not finding time to spend with their family? Then of course that's a personal one, and then the coach needs to start or needs to be taught or learn about coping strategies and communication of how to really schedule their time during the day or the week, also to have this family time, for example, to really make it a point that, okay, I give away this one evening training, for example, in order to be able to be with my family, and my assistant coach can take care of the training. Me as the head coach, I don't have to be coaching every single training. I can also give the responsibility to somebody else to have a bit more time for me and my family, to have less stress from the kids or the wife or whatever the situation at home is.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
One more question.
Yes.
I was thinking about, do you know, is the situation or problems, are they different or similar when talking about coaches in team sports and individual sports?
I think there are similar stresses in some respects, but then also different ones, because of course, if we're talking about the team environment and, for example, maybe a negative environment in a sense, because the athletes are negatively affecting each other, and then the atmosphere gets bad, then that's quite different than when you have an individual sport and you're basically one-on-one with your athlete, where the reasons for some stress might be coming from something different. Then maybe in a team environment, it might be 1, 2, or 3 athletes who are, let's say, poisoning the atmosphere. So then you have to deal with these individual ones, but of course you have to deal not just with the individual ones, but with the whole team to work through the situation to improve it. And of course, payment-wise, salary, that's who is employing the coach with an individual athlete and who employs the coach with a team. So there might also be different stressors and effects coming to why the coach feels stress and what the reasons are. But I think that there might be some, most likely they're very similar in a lot of the instances, but then there might be some peculiar or particular ones only for more applicable to team sport coaches and then to individual coaches.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So if we have one really quick question, we can do it. Otherwise, we'll say thank you to Frauke. That was a good presentation, and for answering the questions too.
My pleasure.